What's up guys, James here, and welcome back to an interesting video on the channel. Now, after my brave dive where I tried to figure out if the game Roblox has lore, I thought I'd take a quick peek into a different video game series that I really enjoy. Now, I would assume that if you clicked on this video, you most likely already know what the game is and what it's about, but I'm still going to give a bit of an introduction. So the game I'm talking about is Carnivores. It's a decently well-known hunting game series that started off in the late 90s. In the games of the series, you get to travel through unique environments using different weapons to hunt down dinosaurs and other prehistoric animals, some of which can even fight back. As of now, it's managed to encompass 3 original PC games, a spin-off game which has very different mechanics than the rest, modern mobile ports of the originals, and reboot versions for PC and console. Every time you complete a hunt, you earn credits which you can spend on new areas, new guns to use, and new animals to hunt. It's quite a simple formula, but it leads to really interesting gameplay. As you'd expect, the game stays alive through a thriving community of active players, and even has a large modding community. But even though on paper it might just appear like any old fun little hunting game, its original developers managed to give it, dare I say, a perfect lore. One which lets the player know almost exactly what's going on, but leaves them with just enough mystery to keep them hooked. Without further ado, let's get into the video. So what actually is the lore of Carnivores? Well, you can actually find descriptions of its general backstory in-game, as well as descriptions of the different environments, animals, and guns. The game takes place sometime after the year 2190, probably a few years after. During that original year, the science vessel FMM UV, captained by a man named Turan Chalks, discovered a planet and named it FMM UV-32. It's assumed that the number indicates that the science vessel discovered 31 other planets prior to discovering the one the game takes place in. The letters in the name are the name of the science vessel that discovered it. At first, people tried to colonize the planet, but inhospitable terrain, coupled with an active alien population, prevented people from settling in. These aliens in question resemble outdated depictions of dinosaurs and other prehistoric animals from Earth. Despite what many newcomers to the game might believe at first, the animals you hunt in Carnivores are not actually dinosaurs, and you're not back in time. You're actually in the future, and the animals are just aliens, which resemble outdated depictions of dinosaurs. If you actually think about how dinosaurs most likely looked when they were alive, the creatures in the game probably barely even look like dinosaurs. Because of this, many people nicknamed the planet the Dinosaur Planet though, because of the animals living on it. I'd also like to say that I'm using the word animal very loosely here. Alien organisms would be in completely different kingdoms of life, and have evolved completely differently from life on Earth. Spreading news of the Dinosaur Planet led an Earth company to create the Dino Hunt Corporation, where clients can pay in order to hunt animals on the planet. In all of the games, with the exception being Carnivores Cityscape, you're playing as a client of Dino Hunt Corp. The original 3 games even have a waiver that you need to accept before even looking at the menu. Dino Hunt Corp in the main games is sort of a neutral presence. You don't really see much of them, but in a lot of the mods people have made for the game, they've been seen as a positive or negative source, depending on which mod you're playing. Everybody has their own personal theories and headcanons, but everything I just said is sort of the confirmed, set-in-stone information that went back as far as the original game. It's pretty universal throughout the series. In the first game, you get to hunt on a number of small tropical islands. The second game brings you to some more tropical and subtropical islands, and even with some maps being a part of a mainland of sorts. The third game, Carnivores Ice Age, brings you to a polar area of the planet. The animals there resemble extinct and currently living mammals and birds of Earth. Now that we've got the main storyline out of the way, how about we dabble in some more information-based lore? What are some of the properties of FMM UV-32? Aside from Carnivores Cityscape, every single game in the series takes place on the planet, which is described as being young. Probably because it's young, it has a large amount of volcanic activity. Some maps have active volcanoes, Others have dormant volcanoes, and one map even has lava fissures in the ground. The planet has an oxygen-rich atmosphere similar to Earth. We can tell this because the atmosphere is blue and the player can breathe without the use of any breathing apparatus. But we do not know the exact makeup of the planet's atmosphere. The maps that all of the games are made up of suggest that the planet is mostly composed of water, but is dotted with islands of varying size. It's also possible that one or more larger landmasses exist. Some of the maps after the first game aren't islands, but are connected to other lands, which is why people think this. Based on a few of the descriptions throughout the games, we can infer that the 3 different main games are their own respective hunting tours, which take place on different areas of the planet, leading to the differences in wildlife and climate. It's not official, but most people would agree that the first game takes place in a tropical region, and the second in a subtropical region. The third one obviously takes place in a polar sector of the planet. Carnivores Cityscape uses vastly different animals and animal designs, so it's possible that those life forms live in an area of the planet that hasn't appeared in any other game. There's an old Carnivores mod, which it goes off of the basis that all of the animals seen in Carnivores Cityscape exist in a very tropical island sector of the planet. It's sanctioned away from the other land masses, which is why the animals there have evolved way differently than the others. Unfortunately, we don't actually know very much at all about the oceans of the planet, or any unplayable areas. Throughout a lot of the maps though, you can see different aquatic plants, and in some maps like Vengar Fjords, you can even find what look like organisms resembling coral or perhaps shellfish. But the only actual aquatic animal that we know of for sure is the Tylosaurus. The planet has a moon which oddly enough looks almost identical to Earth's moon. In the reboots, however, the planet itself is actually the moon of a large gas giant, but most would consider that too conflicting with the game's other lore to be actually considered canon. Back to the more human side of things, the maps of the game, aside from the first one, are home to different failed attempts at outposts, set up by either the original colonizers of the planet or Dino Hunt Corp. The first settlement players are introduced to, in both the second game and the mobile games, is an archaeology outpost on the island of Delphius Hills. Delphius Hills is a small island, mostly covered with rolling hills and low-lying beaches and marshes, but it does have some mountains. It's the largest island on the second tour, but it's way bigger than the ones on the first tour, even then. Next to the outpost is a chasm, but nobody knows for sure how it got there. You can actually use this chasm to effectively farm credits from dinosaurs, if you sit inside of it and use the dinosaur call to attract them. Probably even more famous than the Delphius Hills outpost is Fort Siskin. Well, both the island and the settlement are referred to as Fort Siskin. Fort Siskin is a fort located on the island of Fort Siskin. Its inhabitants built a dinosaur wall to keep out the local wildlife on the settlement. A similar wall can be found in the Manya Jungle map. On Fort Siskin, though, the fort's residents met their untimely demise when a T-Rex broke through the main gate, effectively ending the mission of the fort. The island of Fort Siskin is also home to a lonely hut in the woods, its purpose unknown to us. Aside from a small bridge at the map of Dry Notice Lake, the last and equally notable example of an attempt at infrastructure on the planet was Reveren's Bridge, a bridge connecting an archipelago sharing the same name. The bridge has actually managed to surprisingly stay in good conditions over the years. The archipelago is unique, as reptiles from the south migrate there in the summer, with mammals returning in the winter. There also exists a possibly extinct, possibly still alive, possibly supernatural intelligent race on the planet. Structures like ancient pyramids, a structure resembling the Stonehenge, and an ancient temple with a disembodied voice are all proof of that. There's currently, as far as I know, no scientific explanation as to how the ancient temple has a disembodied voice which speaks to whoever enters it. There's one game that I mentioned a few times in this video, and I thought I'd talk about its plot now towards the end. That game is Carnivores Cityscape. As this game's story goes, years after Dino Hunt Corp opened for business, hunters eventually just started losing interest in the planet. Hunting dinosaurs became a bit boring. So in an attempt to bring more business to the industry, Dino Hunt Corp set up a traveling zoo of sorts, and visited different Earth colonies and colonies around the galaxy to show off the alien creatures to potential future hunting clients. One of the ships carrying these creatures on its way to Earth is overrun by the dinosaurs on board and crashes on the outskirts of Crater City, an Earth colony. The animals inside escape the crashed ship and start rampaging around the city and the surrounding area, terrorizing its inhabitants. Many animals end up becoming invasive to the area, such as the Tylosaurus and the Alphodon. Skilled agents end up being called in to help eradicate the dinosaurs from Crater City. We currently don't know much about Carnivores lore beyond Cityscape. So yeah, that's my video on the lore of Carnivores. I really hope you guys enjoyed, and who knows, if this video does well, maybe I'll make another one like I did with the Roblox one. This video mostly covered just the official timeline, some general lore of all the games, and a few important details. If I decide to make another video, it might include a lot more just general information like this one, but also might dwell on some fan lore, or even game creepypastas, like the Fort Siskin cutscene, or the Delphius Hills ghoul. Anyways, I'll see you guys on the next one.